Andor is the best of Star Wars because it does what the Skywalker saga can't, what it was never designed to do. Because the Skywalker saga is a heroic saga about idealized people who do great things, who are the archetype of a hero. And a lot of times, resistance and rebellion in the face of fascism and authoritarianism doesn't look heroic. I say this as someone who has always loved the original trilogy and understands that tonally these things were never meant to be the same. And I think that Andor walks this really wonderful line of keeping all of the elements that make it feel like a Star Wars saga while approaching it with a completely different ideology and tone. I think that Andor is obviously incredibly important. It's an incredibly important piece of media for any time, but specifically for this time. It is a piece of media that addresses the ugly reality of what it looks like to resist in times that are incredibly dire. Cassian Andor is not a hero, at least not insofar as we've been conditioned to see them as in story archetypes. He's someone who is just a guy trying to make the next best decision that he can in increasingly shittier circumstances. Now, I'm not saying that most of Star Wars isn't like objectively and generally critical of things like imperialism and authoritarianism. Of course it is, and it was designed to be, but it's also largely bloodless and sets up a narrative that allows its characters to be perceived as almost exclusively heroic, to never have to make the hard choices, to be moral compasses for everyone, which is a nice story for children, but it also ties into our history in this country specifically of framing our own history and really favoring storytelling that cuts out any of the bad parts of what it takes to obtain a peaceful world, what it means, the hard parts of what it means to resist against circumstances that we see in this show that also are reflective of real world circumstances. There's been a huge and very intentional push for media to frame our civil rights leaders and our historical heroes, and yeah, even fictional characters, as people who never had to cross their own moral boundaries, are people who were moral paradigms, who never had to do anything wrong, and all it takes to create a better reality is sing kumbaya with one another and hold a peaceful protest and shake hands, and we can have a better tomorrow. And that is a really disingenuous way to present history and to present the real struggles of fighting against a force that is as deadly and terrifying and all-encompassing as the Empire in Star Wars, that again have very real-world parallels. Anyway, I have a lot of thoughts about Andor Season 2. I had to rewatch Season 1 because I watched the 15-minute recap on Disney Plus and started crying and was like, I can't just jump into Season 2 without rewatching Season 1 and rewatching One Way Out. Listen, I have a lot of things that I want to say. I'm just organizing my thoughts because the show is genuinely so incredible. I think that easily this is the best thing that Disney Plus has ever made, and if you're not watching Andor, you really should be. I know a lot of people see Disney Plus and expect a certain level of quality or subject matter, and Andor is, I say this as someone who likes a lot of other Disney Plus things, so far above everything else on Disney Plus, it's not even funny. And I also think it's wonderful and important. I love this show. I have a lot to say about it, and I will.